Jaroslava.
Thank you for the warm introduction. Hello, everybody. So, the topic of my talk is building the future of fund intelligence, the AI layer at Vestberry, which is very AI-like, or shortly, just another AI presentation, right? And when we talk about AI at Vestberry, we can talk about three areas. One area is that we use AI to build better products, and these slides, right? This picture and others are also AI generated, and to work better. I'm not going to talk about that, just wanted to cover it. Then we can use AI to make better AI-powered features. That's going to be core of these presentations. And an important point is, do it where it matters, where it makes sense, right? Because AI is very fashionable right now. And sometimes, we're like little children with this hammer, and when we have hammer, everything is a nail, right? And so we're just trying to pound AI everywhere. And so we are trying to avoid that and only use it where it really makes sense. And thirdly, we can talk about AI actually in the other way, where we let AI use our product, and as the MCP server. So let's get into it. We started with the first experiment with AI, or including AI in the platform, with KPI AI extraction. So when funds or managers receive KPI data from the company, they're often messy Excels, and it's hard to get them into the platform. So we thought AI could help with that. This was the first experiment. It was some time ago. And at the time, it was really just like OpenAI that was fairly usable. But it was still early, right? The API was not mature. The documentation was not mature. So we chose to hire a vendor to implement a service for us that we then included in the application. So this had its benefits, right? We didn't have the internal expertise. But it also had its drawbacks, that we did not build the internal expertise this way, right? And it was also inefficient because there was a long feedback loop, so we couldn't iterate quickly and improve it. But it was like a good start. We saw the potential in there, so then we had a second experiment. And the second experiment was ledger AI extraction. So another problem is that when there's a financing round and you need to record it, you have a lot of unstructured data, right? You get these long investment agreements. There are PDFs, hundreds of pages long. And you need to extract the information from it. And so this time, learning from the previous implementation, from the previous experiment, we decided to go in-house. And this was possible because it was sometime later, and the models were more mature, the APIs were more mature, and so we could actually afford to do it. And this time it was not just OpenAI. The competition has actually materialized. And so we looked at all the alternatives. We looked at Grok by xAI at first because it seemed to give the best answers. Like, it was really good at extracting mathematical financial data, but there were problems because it had no API at first, right? And even when it did not support PDF. So that was a no-go. So then we looked at the OpenAI GPT models, but they were okay-ish, but the biggest problem was that they had a limit of how they could work with PDFs. And at that time, they had a size limit of 100 pages. And those investment agreements can be well over 200 pages long sometimes, so that was a no-go. So then we had to go to Gemini, which at first was terrible. In terms of like the extraction that it did was very bad. But then suddenly they released 2.5 Pro, and suddenly it just worked. So, so based on this, we built the AI extraction internally in such a way that it's a service that affords us to quickly switch between models. As we saw that even during the development, we tested different models, and we don't want to be tied to a certain model, to a certain provider. We want to be able to switch them quickly. And so that's something that is really good. And if you implement it internally as well, just don't get attached to a provider, because a better model can come along very easily and very quickly. Again, when extracting data from unstructured data to structured, one of the things that is good about these models and the APIs is that you can define structured outputs. So you can give it a schema and, it ensures that the data it receives is just what you want. But there are limits to it, especially if you have a complex schema. And so learning here is that if you have a complex schema and you cannot quite get it done with what the model offers, you can improve the results by including a better or stronger schema within the prompt itself. And so that's something that's very useful to know. And this experiment was successful, so we've implemented it in-house, and the drawbacks went away. We built the internal expertise. We had the quick feedback loop that allowed us to build a good feature. And so we re-implemented the AI extraction in-house. So we threw away basically the service that the vendor gave us, and we did it from scratch ourselves. So, in summary, it's very important to choose the right model given the job, right? So, it's not good that you just have one model and use it for everything. Just, if you have a job in mind, test it with various models and see which gives you the best answer, which is the best at that job. Now, some challenges that we had, and we still continue to face, is that data protection and privacy concerns are big among clients in the VC space. So we've had this feature now for months, and still the adoption isn't as big as we thought it would be. And often we get questions like, will those files be used for training? Where are those files being stored? And we tell them, there's a link to privacy policy. Yeah, the files are not used for training. At least that's what they say. We cannot verify it. It's not open source, right? And the files will be deleted within 48 hours. But still, people are quite hesitant. And one of the pitfalls is that in order to actually develop this feature, we need consent from clients to train, because we have the files, right? But we will not, because they're stored in our system, but we will not use them or upload them to third-party servers without consent. And it is actually very difficult to get. And without some clients, we have I think 2 that actually gave us consent to use their files to develop these features, we would not be able to. And so I'm super grateful, and you know who you are, and who gave us the consent. And I would also like to encourage every one of you that is our client, that if you want good AI features, we need the consent, because if we have just from that one client or 2 clients, we can only test it and develop it on those files. And then if you have different structure and we couldn't test it, then you will not get good results. So that is a very big challenge. Now, in order to explore the space, we also had an internal AI hackathon. And you can see a picture of the winning team containing 2 co-founders, so I guess they know what they were doing. And we had some good ideas there. And actually, out of the 3 that are here, I think all of them are going to come to life eventually. One was AI dashboards, which will be transformed into an AI assistant, which we are building. So you can just type in a question, and it will give you the answer, it will generate the dashboard. At least that was the demo there. The AI assistant itself might work a bit differently. Then there is an AI smart fill feature, which allows you to quickly fill in details about companies that can be, when creating a new company in the system, that are publicly available. And of course, AI customer support, which can be available 24/7. So that's that. And the last bit is how we let AI use our product, which is the MCP server. Very quickly, show of hands, who here knows what MCP is? Okay, so not a lot, so let me quickly tell you. So it stands for Model Context Protocol. It was developed by Anthropic, the guys behind Claude. And it's a way to tell the AI model what it can do with your application, right? So you can define a set of tools, where a tool is something like get funds. And you say, you can use this to get information about funds. And then you specify an API endpoint that it can use and get information. And so with this, you can tell Claude or ChatGPT that when you ask it, please, what's our biggest investment? It actually knows, okay, I can use this tool from Vestberry and so on. So basically, it allows the model to interface with the application. So we've built it. It's just like it was released, I think, this year, like the MCP as such. It's a very new thing. It's changing quickly. At first, only Claude supported it, logically. ChatGPT caught on, but it's still not quite good. Still kind of flaky. But despite this, we've developed 22 tools within the MCP server, covering the most important parts of the application. So you can actually use it to query your data in Vestberry using natural language. However, because of the drawbacks that I mentioned, the adoption is quite slow. So pushing forward, we are implementing AI Assistant directly within Vestberry, so you don't have to integrate the MCP into your client, and what if your client doesn't support it? So what we are going to do is that when you open Vestberry, you will have the window there that you can just type in and chat with Vestberry, basically. And so, when you have people that aren't working full-time in Vestberry, you have your partner and they just want to know some information, they just come in and ask questions. It's currently in alpha testing, so we are testing it internally and refining it, and then you can be looking forward to it in some time. And so to finish, I would just say that AI, is great, and maybe we can have a little reel after this when everybody will just cut all the times I said AI in this presentation, because it's a lot, but it's still a tool. And so what we are trying to do is to use this tool to fulfill our mission, which is to unlock the full potential of venture capital to drive innovation around the world. Thank you. So if there are any questions, you can now ask. I didn't go over the functionality as such because, well, I had just 10 minutes. But if you have any questions, now is the time.
Yes, thank you. So regarding MCP, does also Microsoft Copilot Studio supports MCP or some other AI tools,
Yeah, so that's one of the ways how we tested it. Was through Copilot as well. So, for example, I set up the MCP connection through Copilot just to test the client because I did not have Claude, right? And there was one way of testing it, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Do you have a list of, all the AIs that supports them and that can be connected with Vestberry?
No, I don't have it, but you can definitely look it up easily, like which clients have support for MCP. And whichever supports it, you can just connect it.
Okay, thank you very much.